Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, friends. Thank you for joining me. We're going to have another fun lesson today. But before that, let's review the 3 names of Allah we did last time. Who remembers the 3 names? What was the first one? Rahman, that's right. And Rahman means the most kind. Allah is very, very kind. What was the second name of Allah that we learned? Rahim. Rahim is the most merciful. And where do we hear these 2 names? We hear them when we say Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. That's right. What was the third name of Allah that we learned? Al-KHALIQ. And Al-KHALIQ means the Creator. And then we talked about one of the creations of Allah that we see in our world. Who remembers that? Yes, go ahead and say it. The sun, that's right. And what does sun mean in Arabic? Shams. Today, we're going to talk about another creation of Allah that we see in our world. Let me show you my box. Today, we're going to be talking about the moon. Yes. And who knows what moon is in Arabic? Moon in Arabic is qamar. Can you say qamar? Qamar, that's right. What's the first sound you hear in the word qamar? Qa, that's right. And this is what qa looks like in Arabic. The name for this letter is qaf. Can you say qaf? Qaf. And the sound it makes is qa, just like the way we hear in the word qamar. Now last time, you did a great job at helping me find all the letters sheen. Today I have my card with me and I need you to help me find all the letters that say qaf. So let's look at these big letters on the side. Which one says qaf? Yes, the pink one says qaf. Now you're going to help me find all the letters that say qaf within this box. Are you ready? Okay. There is one, yes. And another one, good spotting. And yes, there's the third one. And another one. Wow, there's quite a few letters that say qaf here. And there's one more. Let's count how many letters qaf did we find here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We found 5 letters that say qaf in this card. Now last time, we read the first verse of Surah Shams, which talked about the sun. Did you know the second verse in Surah Shams talks about the moon? So we're going to recite the first and second verse of Surah Shams together. You can listen to me recite the first time and then join me for the second time.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والشمس وضحاها, by the sun and its brightness, والقمر إذا تلاها, by the moon as it follows it.
Now you can recite along with me.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والشمس وضحاها, by the sun and its brightness, والقمر إذا تلاها, by the moon as it follows it.
We did 2 verses of Surah Al-Shams. The first one talks about the sun and it says how the sun is very bright, and then the second one talks about the moon as it follows the sun. Now let's talk about some of the facts about the moon. What do we know about the moon? Did you know that the moon orbits around the earth? That means it goes around the earth on a path, and that path that the moon takes to go around the earth is called an orbit. Can you say orbit? Orbit. So the moon orbits around the earth. We also look for the moon at the beginning of every Islamic month. How many Islamic months do we have? That's right, we have 12 Islamic months, and the Islamic calendar follows the moon. So our calendar, the Islamic calendar, is also called the lunar calendar. Lunar means moon. So when we sight the new moon, we know that it's the beginning of a new Islamic month. And it takes one whole Islamic month for the moon to complete its orbit around the earth. And so that's about 29 days. So it takes about 29 days, which is one Islamic month, for the moon to complete a whole orbit around the earth. Now, did you know that the moon does not have light of its own? How can we see the moon in the sky shining so brightly then, if it doesn't have light of its own? That's because the moon reflects the light from the sun. It's like a mirror. If you stand in front of a mirror and you turn on the flashlight, you will see that the flashlight from the mirror is bouncing back. It's reflecting. So the moon is like a mirror. It's reflecting the sun's light on earth, and that is how we can see the moon at night. Now, when you look at the moon in the sky, have you ever wondered why does it look different every night? There are times when the moon looks like a crescent. There are times when it looks like a half moon. Sometimes it looks like a full moon. You can see the whole moon in the sky. So sometimes it looks smaller and sometimes it looks bigger. Well, the moon is not changing. What we see, remember, is the light that it reflects from the sun. So we see the moon depending on how much sunlight it is reflecting. Remember, as the moon is moving, there are times when it's only reflecting a little bit of light. And there are times when it's reflecting, the sun's light is shining on the entire surface of the moon. Let me show you how that works. So in reality, our moon looks like this. There is no light. And this is what a new moon looks like. We cannot see the new moon because it is not reflecting any light from the sun at that time. And as it's moving around the earth, as it orbits the earth, every day we begin to see the light that the moon reflects from the sun. So after the new moon, we begin to see a crescent. Have you ever seen a crescent moon in the sky? Yes, it's very small and tiny. And as the moon is orbiting the earth, every few days we see more and more of the moon. That's because it's reflecting more light from the sun. And then we see half moon. And on the 15th of the Islamic month, we see a full moon. That is when the sun is shining on the entire surface of the moon. So the moon is reflecting the light from the sun. So the 15th of the month of Ramadan is going to be sometime this week. So you can ask your mommy or daddy or any adult at home to remind you when the 15th night of Ramadan is, so you can go outside and check the moon and see if it's a full moon. You will see a full moon. After the 15th of the month, we once again begin to see lesser and lesser of the moon as it's orbiting around the earth. And by the time it completes orbiting around the earth, one whole Islamic month is over. And then we start again with the new moon that we cannot see, and then again with the crescent moon and the moon getting bigger. And that is the cycle the moon follows. So every new Islamic month, we begin to see the moon as a crescent, and then we see more and more of it, and then we see a full moon on the 15th of the month, and then we begin to see less and less of it. And that's all because of how much light from the sun the moon is reflecting. The moon also causes tides in the ocean. Tides are those waves in the ocean that we see. Have you ever gone to the beach? And do you run after the waves? Or do you run away from the waves as you see them approaching? Yeah, so the moon causes those tides in the ocean. Now, I'm going to show you some pictures and we're going to talk about them. Who is this? It's an astronaut. Can you say astronaut? Astronaut. Astronauts are people that go to outer space. And some astronauts have also gone to the moon. So did you know people can go to the moon? And they can go to outer space? But you have to be an astronaut in order to do so, because astronauts go through extensive training. They go through a lot of training, special training in order to go to outer space and to the moon. See, the astronaut is not wearing regular clothes like we do. They're wearing a special suit and they need special training. So when you grow up, and if you want to go to outer space and if you want to go to the moon, you can do so. You just have to be an astronaut in order to do so. How do astronauts go to the moon? Do they go by airplane? Do they go by helicopter? What vehicle do they use to go to outer space? Astronauts use a space shuttle. A space shuttle is a specially designed spacecraft that transports people or that takes people to outer space. So this is a space shuttle. This is what the astronauts use in order to go to outer space. This is the vehicle. This is how they get transported to outer space. And this is a rocket ship. A rocket ship is attached to the space shuttle, and it helps the space shuttle to launch into outer space. It thrusts the space shuttle. It gives the space shuttle that force in order to go up into outer space, because it needs a lot of force, it needs a lot of energy to go. So the rocket ship is attached to the space shuttle, and it helps the space shuttle launch into outer space. Now we're going to do an activity whereby I will need you to use your eyes and your ears, because you're going to help me find the correct sounds, the first sounds for the words that we are going to use. So, what is this a picture of? This is an astronaut. Astronaut. And this says astronaut. What is the first sound you hear in the word astronaut? Astronaut. A. The first sound we hear is A. Can you help me find A? Which card from here says A? This says A. That's right. Okay. Our next one is space shuttle. This is the picture of a space shuttle. And this says space shuttle. What's the first sound you hear in the word space shuttle? Space shuttle. S. That's right. S. Can you help me find S? This says S. And what did we say this was? This is a rocket ship. Rocket ship. And this says rocket ship. The first sound we hear in the word rocket ship is R. And this says R. Okay. This is the moon. That's right. And this says moon. What is the first sound you hear in the word moon? Moon. That's right. This says for moon. Okay, now we're going to do one activity about the phases of the moon. Do you remember I showed you this? So when we cannot see the moon, this is a new moon. New moon we cannot see at all. This is a crescent. Can you say crescent? Crescent. And then we see half moon. This is half moon. And this is full moon. Yeah, we see the different phases of the moon. These are called phases of the moon. We have new moon, crescent, half moon, and full moon. Now I'm just going to show you a couple of activities that you can ask your mommy or daddy or any adult at home to print out for you so you can do it. You don't need to watch how I'm doing this, because I'm pretty sure you can do this on your own with some help from anyone at home. So one of the activities is a cutting activity. Do you see this? The symbol of scissors right here? So that shows you the line to follow when cutting. So we have different patterns that you can follow for cutting. And then we have a tracing activity. So for this activity you can use a pencil or a crayon or color pencil, and you're going to trace the lines from the moon to the space shuttle, or from the space shuttle to the moon. Again, we have different designs, we have different patterns, and whichever one you like, or you can do all of them, but this is the tracing one. And we have the cutting one. And we also have these cards that you can use for the phases of the moon. Remember I showed you phases of the moon? So you can use these cards and do the phases of the moon activity. The new moon, the half moon, the full moon, the crescent. So you can do these activities with someone at home, okay? Now before we end today's lesson, I have a rhyme for you.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والشمس وضحاها by the sun and its brightness والقمر إذا تلاها by the moon as it follows it. I see the moon in the night sky, shining brightly up so high. Allah al-KHALIQ made the moon. Allah al-KHALIQ made us too. The moon gets its light from the sun. The moon causes tides in the ocean. Allah al-KHALIQ made the moon. Allah al-KHALIQ made us too. The moon looks different every night. That's because of the sun's light. Allah al-KHALIQ made the moon. Allah al-KHALIQ made us too. Allah al-KHALIQ made us too.
I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. Thank you for joining me. Inshallah, you'll see me next time with another lesson. Khuda Hafiz.
Allah al-KHALIQ made the moon. Allah al-KHALIQ made us too.